Huh.
Alright guys, Dane at JONAH Guitar back here with the 18-inch bandsaw. And just a quick recap, I took the burrs, filed the burrs off the shaft here, so it's smooth. It's got some dents in it because of where the screw went into it. Anyway, I just snugged it up and did the run out on the edge of the wheel here, and it was around 80 or 90 thousandths. It was in the last video, I'm pretty sure. And so I could put some spacer bushings behind this, which might not be a bad idea once I figure out when my wheels are coplanar between the top and the bottom of this thing, but I'm a ways off from worrying about that at this point. So this thing will just snug up on the flat part of the shaft. But you can see there's quite a bit of wobble here. Not, side to side and top to bottom. So it's the overall diameter of the shaft, or the overall diameter of the wheel itself in the center there. So I've had several people suggest that I just run some beads of weld on there and then grind it down to fit. That's going to be problematic for a few reasons. I don't have a welder, for one. I'm trying to avoid taking it out of the machine and taking it somewhere. If I was going to do that, then I would just take the shaft out and the wheel and take it to a machine shop and say, make these things. Whatever you got to do. I'd rather shim this if that's at all possible. I did have one good, shouldn't say one good comment. I had a lot of good comments. I had one that I hadn't thought about. That was Tippy Hippie over across the pond suggested or pointed out that this is half of a lathe. So pretty much if I have I don't have it plugged in, I don't think. Have half a lathe there, and if you could set up a block, you could actually do something like that. You could weld on here and then you could turn that down to the appropriate size, provided that you could set up with your cutter, completely parallel to the shaft, and keep that all copacetic. So kind of what I've been planning on doing is just using feeler gauges of the appropriate thickness and putting them in here and pressing the shaft over those feeler gauges once the size is determined. So I've been trying to figure out a way to determine the size without mangling up a bunch of feeler gauges, because I just soon not have to go buy more sets of gauges to accomplish this. So I was hoping I had a number 10 guitar string that I had clipped in the trash, but I just emptied the trash and all that stuff went down the street, so down the road. And I remembered, well, I do have some gauges that I made years ago when I was trying to figure out ways to do this on the cheap without buying all the special Stolmac tools, and I used a lot of these things for a long time, and then as I started making money at it, I became more sophisticated in my tool purchases. So anyway, this one is a 17 thousandths, this is a 12 thousandths. I don't have a 10. So what I'm going to do is just see how much space I have in here by using a string. And I'm going to try to push it all to one side and see if I can slip that 17 in there. So that 17 doesn't go in. Now it's going to go in on the flat, but it does not go in. I could just go to the bottom here to make it easy. Does not go in. Okay, so I'm going to try the 12,000. Even the 12 thousandths doesn't go in, so I might have to go dig around a bit. I do have another trash can on the other side of the bench, but I don't normally throw strings in there. But I will check. Yeah, so the 12,000 isn't going in either, no matter what I do. So it's not even starting. So that puts me down into the 10 or less. And obviously I'm going to have to try something here and see what happens. And I may mangle a feeler gauge or two in the process. Much cheaper in the long run to do that and to get this thing back in running order. The one thing I do before I get all carried away and too tight here is I want to find out where this has to ride in and out. I'm sure it's not supposed to ride all the way up against the bushing there. For one thing, it's past where the guides would line up at, and for another thing, it leaves it wears the back of the wheel out, being an aluminum wheel and all. All right, I'm going to go look for other ways to measure, and I'll be back. Okay, this may or may not be easy to see. So I have three feeler gauges here that are running, one on the bottom of the shaft and then two on the upper thirds, just next to the flat, but not on the flat, so down a fuzz. I think the end of the shaft may have been beat on at some point. I can't see it with my eye, but I get to a point and it's tight and then it loosens up as it goes. So it's still wobbling. And it could also be due to the fact that the inside of this wheel is worn, not parallel, has flared out on the back side, which is entirely possible. Because it seems like that's where most of the looseness is happening. But I've got a 1.5 thousandths shim, a 2 thousandths shim, and a 2.5 thousandths shim. Or somewhere, I think the 2.5 is on the bottom, and the other two are on top. So it could be just a matter of going to adding another thousandths around the circle, starting at maybe the 2.5 and going 3 and 4 thousandths, and seeing if I can get those on there. Also going to just kind of file the edge of this shaft here, just to make sure that that's not been peened out and causing it, making it harder to get in there. But anyway, as you can see, it still has a lot of wobble going on, and I'm sure that as long as I have that wobbling happening, that I'm going to have a problem with the run out. So I may end up having to take the wheel in and have it bushed, to a smaller, have a bushing put in, bored out and oversized, and then have bushing put in that fits the shaft and the wheel. So we'll see. I'm trying to do this for as little as possible expense-wise. Still going to be way less than I would pay for a new machine, but at the same time, I don't want to inherit a bunch of problems with this machine or expense, and then decide a year from now that it's just not cutting well enough to mess with it, So anyway, trying to be responsible and get a good machine, but at the same time not spend tons of money. Having said all that, I'm going to say I'll talk to you later. I'm going to have to take this apart, but right now I have to go do something else, so we'll see you. Hey folks, Dane here at JONAH Guitars, and just a quick update on this 18-inch CRAFTSMAN bandsaw here. This guy. I've taken the bottom wheel to a machine shop in Wairika, which is about 30 miles north of me here, and he's just going to basically ream that center hole out, put a steel bushing in, and then the inside hole will match the size of the shaft on the bandsaw. So that's the cleanest way to get that to happen. And as you saw with the feeler gauges, it wasn't wasn't really panning out that way, and trying to figure out how to stack feeler gauges in there and get everything tapered and make it all stay where it needs to be. So just thought I'll just bite the bullet and find a real machinist and have that taken care of. So that's what I did. The middle of next week or something before I hear about that. And I'll keep track of what this stuff costs and kind of do a rundown at the end of the whole little series here. But yeah, that's where we're at right now, waiting on a machinist to just ream that and put a bushing in, and then we'll go from there. So we'll keep you updated, keep you posted, keep you updated on this deal. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. Guys, go make some dust.